The shoulders are hinge and shrivel. They're hinge and swivel. Okay people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Tonight I'm going to take a look at Star Wars Black Series Wave 1, based on the Force Awakens, episode 7, whatever you want to call it. I did the midnight opening the Force Friday at Toys R Us last night, and a whole 12 people showed up. A little bit discouraging, but at the same time it was kind of fun. You know, we just got to hang back. We got to know the other people in line, you know, all other 8 people. So we moseyed on in, and I ended up not buying anything. Toys R Us had some weird rules. I woke up this morning, went to Target, got to use my coupon, so essentially I got these for about $16.50 a piece with the $25 off $100 purchase. I could hold off a little bit to, you know, save a little bit of money. And they had them there too. We went to Walmart's last night, nobody around. I've heard stories online of, you know, crowds and figures selling out and that kind of thing. Here in, you know, Arkansas, it was just very laid back, at least in my area. Walmarts weren't crowded, Target wasn't crowded. In fact, it was pretty much the same guys, ran into the same guys everywhere, so not that big a deal. I'm gonna look at these in order. Here's Finn. He looked pretty cool. These first two a little bit boring, only because I'm trying to stay as spoiler free as possible. So, you know, there's a dude, there's a woman, there's a droid. Kylo Ren looking pretty cool, but before I even went out to Force Friday, I had the SH Figure Arts figure pre-ordered. So buying this, you know, it'll do me until I get the Figure Arts, and then I'll do a comparison later in December. The Stormtrooper, same thing. I had the Figure Arts figure pre-ordered, but it's a trooper. I can deal with lots of them on the shelf. And then Chewbacca. I'm more excited to see how his head fits, you know, on the old body, or the old bandolier fits on the new body, just to make a classic, that's weird to say now, classic Chewbacca with a closed mouth, just, you know, for the shelf. And there we go, everything out of the package. And I think I like these a lot more than I thought I would. When I got to Toys R Us last night, you know, I had a Stormtrooper in my hands. I handed it off to somebody else. He wanted it more than I did. Like I said before, I was waiting for the Target coupon. First up, let's take a look at number 1 in the series, Finn in Jakku gear. I don't know if I'm saying that right. For you know, one of the human main characters, no armor, nothing really stands out on him. It's a nice figure for what it is. He does look a little bit squat, and I'm not sure if that's how he actually looks in the movie, because I haven't seen the movie. It's not terrible. It's just a little bit noticeable when you pick him up. And then his slippers. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's just, it's like he jumped out of bed and ran out and got geared up. You see what I'm talking about? The torso's here. The legs, a little bit short. The waist, a little bit wide. But it's nice to have a differently shaped character on the shelf. I'm not complaining about that. Just a different kind of body shape. The head sculpt's really nice. I'm not really familiar with the actor, but from what I remember, it looks like him. The hair's cool. The paints, the eyes are straight. Paint is really nice. I like the skin tone. I like the sculpt of the jacket, and the shirt has a texture to it. I can't complain. Wrinkles on the pants. Articulation, he's got neck, and there's not a lot of range of movement. It's sunk really deep. I almost feel like the head should sit higher. The head comes off, and he actually has a hinge here, but you can't really utilize it because of how deep the hole is in the head. I almost feel like it should be there, which you can see gap. It's not really made for that. Yeah. Shoulders, hinge and swivel. Hinges out 90, rotates all the way around. Hinge and swivel at the elbow. You can get about that far. Swivels back and forth. The wrist, hinge and swivel right here. The right hand hinges up and down as if for a lightsaber. The left one side to side. The waist it has a little bit of movement side to side, not a lot of forward. Back kind of slides off itself, but there's a little there. The hips hinge and swivel. The left one goes out. The right one, I don't know, there's something there. It pops back in. I don't know if there's plastic in there or something. And then it goes forward really well, back. There's a swivel at the thigh, and I've been noticing the left thigh has kind of a gap to it. I may have to pop that and see what's going on there. Double knees, all the way back. Hinge at the ankle. Forward, not so much. And then forward facing peg, rocker ankle. Finn comes with a blaster. I like this blaster. It's kind of an earthy color with a silver tip. It's got a wash to it, black. It looks dirty, looks clunky, chunky, like, you know, the original trilogy. So I feel like that's kind of a throwback to that. And I am completely good with that. It goes in his hands pretty good. The finger goes right into the trigger guard. Except when he's holding it, it kind of shoots off to the outside. It doesn't really go straight down his arm. And without the hinge going side to side, you can't really correct that. So you have to kind of pull his finger out of the trigger guard in order to make it a straight line. And if you bought an extra X-Wing Luke from Series 1 to make, you know, maybe a custom pilot or two, you'll end up with an extra lightsaber. And he holds it pretty well. You have to kind of slide it in there. Now he has the trigger finger, but that helps in straight out posing like this. And, you know, he's got the lightsaber hinge in his wrist, so this only feels natural. Number 2 in the series is Rey with BB-8. Again, a human character. I expected her to be pretty boring, but kind of surprising. I like the body shape. I like the colors. Her face is a little bit bland. She's got those eyes that kind of have been an attempt to translate from the 3 3/4 inch up to 6 inch. And it doesn't really work. There's no, you know, definition to them. They're just kind of dead eyes. Kind of G.I. Joe eyes. But her costume is sculpted really well. The arm wraps, the dress type thing, whatever it is. The pouch that hangs from her hip on the back. It's all part of this skirt piece. Her skin tone is kind of pale. And from watching the first trailer and then nothing else afterwards, her being on a desert planet, it seems like she would have slightly more of a tan. The paints, again talking about desert planet, are kind of bland. It's just the flat colors. It's kind of this grayish beige color with a white underneath. And then her skin tone, like I said, really light. But the textures, the wrinkles are cool. That her boots have this texture on the front. Again, can't complain. She's a good size for a female figure. Now, for articulation, she doesn't have a lot of hair, so there's no hindering her head movement. But it's still, again, the hole is a little bit deep, so she doesn't get a lot of movement side to side. She gets pretty good down. She can look all the way and then up. So that's not bad at all. Shoulders are hinge and swivel. She has this sleeve sculpt on top, so she doesn't... Oh, well, no, never mind. There you go. All the way out 90. You just gotta pop it past that point. Rotate all the way around. She has a hinge and swivel at the elbow. Her elbow doesn't bend very far. Hinge and swivel at the wrist. Twist. Torso articulation is down here, low, about her waist, a little above her waist. She gets a twist. She gets forward. And you gotta kind of force it back. Kind of work it in, because she has this tunic sculpt on the back, so it stops right there. Her hips are at hinge and swivel, but it's hindered by this dress skirt top thing, so you're not going to get a lot of out or forward. It stops about right there. She has a swivel at the thigh. She has a single knee, which with the shorts being there, I can see why. It goes back about 90. Hinge at the ankle, and then rocker ankle. She comes with this staff blaster, whatever this is. It's got a plastic strap on it. You would think it would hang over her shoulder, but this doesn't move. And with Rey, you get BB-8. Now, BB-8's kind of cool. This is... If people aren't that into Rey, I can see them getting this figure just for BB-8. But there's some kind of weight in the bottom that kind of balances it. Now you can shift the weight a little bit. You get a little bit side to side, a little bit forward and back, and then kind of a rotation at the top, like there's a ball going up into the head. So if you want to shift it off, you can make him shift off to the side. And if you try to stand him up that way, he's going to tilt in the direction of his head, which, some kind of wizardry. Overall, though, he's got a little weathering. The paints are nice. The silver's where it needs to be, the orange. And I haven't compared it to actual movie or trailer steels, but this looks like BB-8, and he works. Scale-wise, I'm not sure. I know there's a model kit coming later. We'll have to compare in December, I guess. Number 3 in the wave is Kylo Ren. I feel like, besides the Stormtrooper, which is, always a mad dash to get him because of army building, Kylo Ren is kind of the star of the wave. And I wasn't really looking forward to him. The cloth, I was, worried. After the Emperor, I was a bit leery. But getting him in hand, yeah. The robes are a bit long. I mean, they hang way down past his feet. Where's his feet? They hang down past his feet. But it gives you a little flair to it. It, rolls out. And you can put it behind his leg. You can swoop it out. You can swoop it past. It's a little flat, yes. But I like the texture to the cloth. And I like that you can do, kind of swoopy stuff like this. The hood is not as bad as the Emperor's. Yeah, it pops up randomly. You can make it pop up, but you can get it to lay down too. And you can always do the water trick too, where you douse it in water, put it where you want, and just wait for it to dry. But I'm okay with this. It looks a little raggedy, but with this plastic piece hanging off that is simulating raggedy cloth, I'm good with the cloth looking a little raggedy. Let's say raggedy again. I feel like the belt is a little high, like he's high pantsing it. Again, haven't went to reference. Maybe it's like that. I don't really want to remove this. I do, but I don't, because it looks like this is sewn shut. And it almost acts like it's attached somewhere around the neck area. So I don't want to go cutting on this, but he's got a plastic skirt underneath, but it's split in, let's see, 3 pieces, 1 back and 2 fronts. So it doesn't impede the legs at all. And then underneath it's just black pants, shiny boots. So if somebody wanted to tear into this for, just a custom, it's all under there. I don't know what's under the torso. I tried to pop the head earlier and it did not want to come off. I was afraid of tearing something. But articulation, again, the head's it's a little hard to move. You can get side to side, but there's not really any up and down. I don't know if it's because of this neck piece or it's the head. It doesn't fit on the, doesn't give a lot of room. But yeah, that's kind of, no. The shoulders, hinge and swivel. You can swivel them out. But this cloak top thing is in the way of the right shoulder. So you're not going to get all the way up. You're not going to get up this way. You can push it. But yeah. The left, you can get all the way up, all the way around. Elbows are hinge and swivel. He gets a little past 90. Then swivels. Wrists are the same way, but he's got the lightsaber wrists. So up and down on this one, and up and down on this one. In the torso, I don't know what's going on under all this cloth, but he does have a crunch. And I'm going to guess it's, like the other Black Series where it's a, floating abdomen. He's got a rotation there too. The hips, hinge and swivel. You can get out because of the cloth and the plastic being cut. You can get back. You can get out. About that far. There is a swivel at the thigh. Double knees. Get all the way up. Ankles hinge. Down. Up. Good movement. And then rocker ankle. And of course Kylo Ren comes with his lightsaber. None of this is removable. So the blade and the two sticking out the sides is almost one piece. The energy kind of just flows down into the other two. I kind of like the attachment here, though. It makes it seem more like a single unit, you know what I mean? If that makes any sense. Plus, he can use it in exorcisms. Be gone, Sith Lord. But it goes in his hand pretty good. And just like I talked about with Finn, you get really good straight out posing for lightsaber duels or, you know, posing, that kind of thing. And that's why I love the lightsaber wrists for characters with lightsabers. Number 4 in the series is the Stormtrooper, the First Order Stormtrooper. I'm a trooper kind of guy. I'm a sucker. I can't help it. I can't pass them up. I gotta have every version of Stormtroopers, or Biker Scouts, or Sand Troopers, or, you know, Clone Troopers. One of each version I'm good with. So, yes, there is a figure arts version of this coming out. Yes, there is a model version of this coming out. But I'll get the Black Series version too, because it's troops. Different troops behind, you know, the main characters. I'm good with it. It'll stay on the shelf. And for some reason, I love this guy. He's smooth. I think that's the best description I can come up with. He's just a smooth figure. The white, the black. I've always loved the white and black of the Stormtrooper, and this ramps it up a little bit more. Now, at first, I didn't like the helmet, but the more I'm sitting here taking pictures and playing around with him, I'm growing to love it. The lenses gives better view than a Stormtrooper, and this is almost like a smile, like a sadistic, we're going to blow your head off, but we're happy to do it kind of thing going on. Now, the paint on this one, you can see that it's kind of smudgy in places. There's a extra line right there. Kind of fadey in places, but this was the best one they had on the shelf. And overall, I'm good with this one. The first one I picked up at Toys R Us last night, and then, you know, handed off to somebody else. The detailings here, it almost looked like Sharpie. I wasn't too thrilled about that. Articulation, the head does get some side to side, gets some up, gets some down. It's not great, but it's passable. The shoulders, you have these shoulder bells, so it gets in the way. You can't get up. You can go all the way around. Yeah, that's kind of a letdown. But for me, just look on the shelf and look cool, Stormtrooper. You're doing your job. Hinge and swivel at the elbow, not that great. And then it swivels back and forth. Hinge and swivel at the wrist, swivels around. Now, my favorite point of articulation on this figure is the torso joint. That's where the smooth comes from. This is just so nice going around. It makes up for the lack of range of motion in the arms, I think. You know, for me anyway. He can twist there. It's just, look at that. It's just... The hips are hinge and swivel, but he has these pouch top things hanging off his belt, so you're not going to get out very much. And even if those weren't there, the armor comes up almost to the hips, so it's going to lock down right there. But he can get forward, can get back a little bit. He's got a twist under the armor, but it doesn't cut through the armor. That's awesome. There's no cut line right here. It's almost hiding that swivel. Good job there. Double knees, all the way up. Hinge at the ankle, down good, forward good. And again, this point is hidden by these ankles here, but that gets in the way of the rocker. You still have most of the movement, but it does hit on those. He comes with his blaster, and I only just now noticed there's a slot right here on his thigh, and there's a peg on the blaster. So, by process of elimination, it goes right there. I like that. The blaster goes in his hand pretty well. Right in, just like Finn. He's got a good straight line, but he can adjust with his wrist, so you can keep his finger in the trigger for straight shooting. And he also comes with a smaller blaster. Now, I didn't see any of the overseas figures coming with this smaller blaster, so that's kind of cool. It gives options whenever you get more than one trooper. This one is kind of mostly held with the trigger finger. It's a little bit small. The James Bond pose. Like I said, options. And it looks like it has a peg on the side too, so you can hang it off his... Well, isn't that nifty? I like that he can hold one and store the other. I'll be damned. Here he is with the original trilogy Stormtrooper, and this looks good. About the same height, about the same shoulder. The First Order Stormtrooper is a little bit thicker. I think I like that. He's a little bit more filled out. There's not as much empty space, not as much scrawny leg. The helmet flows better into the costume. That's a toss-up. And here's number 5, this big hunk of plastic Chewbacca. But if you have this Chewbacca, you know what's going on. Same articulation, same, almost the same paint job. Now, the new Chewbacca, representing the old Chewbacca, is a little bit lighter, and it has almost a gray wash over it, I guess to make him look a little bit older. The original Chewbacca, a little bit darker. It's the same body, but for some reason the old Chewbacca looks a little bit thinner. I think it's his head. I think the new Chewbacca has a fuller head, and for some reason it makes him just slightly shorter. The differences are the new Chewbacca has the closed mouth, so it's a completely new head sculpt, and like I said, it's a little bit fuller, and then the bandoliers are different. But I do like the pouch better on the new one. If you look at the old one, it kind of sticks out. It's a little bit bulky. This one just forms straight to his side. There's no jutting out. Now, as you can see, he comes with the bowcaster again. The only difference between the bowcasters is this front piece that comes off. It has a little diamond shape on the end. The original bowcaster has a circle that is pretty much the same weapon, except for the material it's made out of. And here's where I'm going to get a little bit angry. I mean, look at this. This is how it came out of the package. That is this rubbery just... I cannot get it to straighten out. Look at the sights. The gun runs this way. The sights point up. You can see the stock is crooked as hell. The barrel juts off to the side. When you put the front on the front piece, there's a peg hole. It's a square with a chamfered corner off of it. And you can see the peg has a chamfered corner. So it slides on that way. But the damn thing is so crooked, it looks nothing like the original. The original kind of bows back. This one bows down and off to the side. It's cast in straight black. There's no paint. There's no wash. There's no dry brush. The original has a silver dry brush over the black. Makes it look nice. And the new one has none of that. The original scope came off in one piece. I don't believe this one does. You know what? The bowcasters are different. They look almost the same, but the piping is missing right here on the new one. And now the scope is molded to the top of the weapon. Yeah, tiny little changes. And a huge change in material. I don't like this. Now you can switch the heads, since the bodies are exactly the same between the two figures. The original Chewbacca's head just pops straight off. No problem. Wish I had a human head. That would look awesome on top of that. A Peter Mayhew head. The new Chewbacca head, it does not want to come off at all. You have to pull very, very hard. And it pops. Pops really hard. And you can put it on this one. It's a little bit tough. But it does go on. And it doesn't look bad. The colors are a little bit lighter than the body. I like the new body, how the transitions, there's a fade to it, except on the torso. You can see that it's just a big change between the two pieces. The old one, sleeves, shorts. But I like this head on this body with the old bandolier, so that may work. So, at the end of the day, not a bad series at all. I'm happy with every one of these purchases, except for Chewbacca's bowcaster. That's a shame. That breaks my heart. But everybody was ramped up. Everybody was talking about BB-8. Well, I say all, but online, in person, everyone I talked to, everybody was talking about BB-8. the Stormtroopers. Some of the 501st Legion was at my Toys R Us and a couple of the Walmarts. They were talking about the Stormtroopers. I'm afraid that Finn and maybe Rey are going to be peg warmers, but at one per case, it shouldn't be too terrible. It should be okay. Chewbacca, the original lasted a little longer than it should have at my local stores, but with the movie coming out, it should be cool. We should see some flow to these. BB-8 comes with Rey. I don't see her peg warming as much. I'm happy with all of these, if not just to have Chewbacca for an upgrade to my old one. And for the rest of the characters, I'm sure when the movie comes along, I'll be a lot more excited about the characters themselves. But right now, the figures aren't that bad at all. You know, the usual nits with Black Series. Don't let the long robes on Kylo Ren scare you off. He's kind of cool. If you want to go for this option and keep it, skip all the other releases, that's perfectly fine. He is perfectly acceptable. As well as the Stormtrooper. I'm completely happy with all of these. As far as where to get these, Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, every other online store, every store in your area probably, unless they only sell groceries. And hell, they may have them too. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe, and I will catch you on the Fwoosh. There's something to look at all over the figure. And, you know, I know it's a basic clone trooper commander, but man, this makes me want more commanders. Gree. I can't remember the names of the rest of them, but the different colored ones, they're just awesome.